I've been with Enphase actually since it started in Australia, and which has been around, we're into our 12th year in Australia now. The company's been around since 2006. I've been in the solar industry for over 22 years and have worked far and wide and had a lot of different experiences in a diverse range of roof types and locations across the globe. I feel very lucky working for Enphase because it's a very interesting product. Good people work at Enphase as well, and in my journey and my time I've worked with a lot of homeowners and system owners all across the country and seen some really amazing results of using the equipment. So really my job tonight is really just share you a few stories, talk to you about the product and help you understand a bit more about the technology. Anything that you need to know or questions you have, there's a really good opportunity today to ask me those questions, and I'll hopefully I can answer them for you and help you along on your journey to getting solar. Actually, I was going to ask you before we go ahead. Are you sort of learning to get solar on your homes, or do you already have it? I know one gentleman here has solar and he's got a fantastic system built on his property already. Do you already have systems installed? Yep, systems installed. No?
15-year-old system.
Yeah, great. So it's an interesting cross-section, right? And it's probably quite common now in Australia because we've got so many homes with solar. We see a diverse range of sort of needs and use cases for solar, and no different than Enphase. And the idea of this product is very versatile, and it should be able to address a diverse range of needs and outcomes for various system owners and your homes and house types where you're based. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through an agenda with the presentation tonight. We're going to have a quick introduction. We've done a lightning presentation. I'm going to just quickly talk Enphase on the slide. So there's sort of some key points in the slide here we're going to touch on. An overview of the system. What I've done tonight is tried to capture some of the key aspects without really doing the full sales, because I know that you are curious about Enphase and you've probably spoken to Lightning Energy already, and the goal really is for me to sort of give you some sort of more detail about the system and the integration of the system components. We've got a real world experience. In fact, I've moved that up the chart a little bit, where I wanted to bring some use cases. So we've asked questions of our customers before, and these are some ideas around how systems might get used in the home to meet various outcomes and requirements for system owners. So, I think hopefully this is very valuable for you all tonight. So, this is going to take a while to jump through the slides. Probably a bit more of a big picture thing. I know. So some of you said you've already got systems. Have you got Enphase already? Yep. So maybe 2 or 3 of you, 3 or 4 of you have got Enphase, which is great. Have any of you had Enphase in for quite a few years, or is it quite recent? Nearly 1 year. Yep. Nearly an anniversary to celebrate there. And so far so good. What do you think? Yeah. Yep. Pretty happy with it. And so I'm curious to know. So you've got Enphase. So what brings you here tonight?
Batteries.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is really interesting, right? The industry is changing and solar is changing. Now, all electric home is becoming a very trendy term. Future-proofing home is becoming more and more commonly spoken about in the industry. We've got changing energy needs. You might have desires for EVs or electric vehicles. Anyone got an EV yet? Yeah, there's a few nods. So, of course, we're seeing more and more additions into the home where solar and also now storage will help benefit the integration of. And that's what manufacturers are trying to do, is get all of that equipment and appliances together to really give you a complete benefit and full control of energy in the home. Now, you have to forgive me because I have a habit of going off on ridiculous tangents because I've been around so long and talk all things Enphase. So just in terms of Enphase, the organisation, you may be familiar with the American company. It's been around for many years, since 2006. It is very well represented globally. In fact, we are 75% market share in the US as an inverter product in terms of all of the inverters sold in the US. It's quite a significant product. and it has been for many, many years in North America. Now, it works differently in different markets around the world, but it's a very popular product around the world, and it's very well respected. And the reason why it's so successful, we've shipped over 76 million microinverters worldwide, so it's a very large number. The reason why Enphase has been so successful really comes down to the effort it puts into the development, design and engineering of the product. Because as we talk about microinverters, it's a very difficult technology to get right. And you'll notice there aren't many manufacturers manufacturing it. Enphase is the name that people refer to when they talk about microinverter technology, which is what we're talking about tonight. For good reason. Enphase has really done well in terms of making a technology that is robust and reliable. And that's one of the key elements with electronic equipment. It needs to stand the test of time. And there's evidence in tonight's presentation as well. So what I want to do is I want to give you an overview of a system and talk generally at points about system overview. Now, there are some benefits of solar and storage, of course. And of course, I know that a lot of you may be well learned in technology already, but we'll cover some of this ground. So of course, you can make, use and sell your own solar power. So it's about, you can use solar power to maybe charge your battery during the daytime if you're looking at storage, and you can use your battery to cover evening usage. Now, you might have noticed that electricity tariffs, so sending electricity to the grid, is becoming less exciting because the value of electricity sent to the grid is very small now. So people are thinking, what other ways can I use that electricity? Putting it into storage is very, probably the most talked about element in the solar industry now, putting it into battery. And we talk about gaining independence, having more control over your energy in the home, and then looking at all electric living. Have you considered this about sort of, looking at, some of you might still have gas on your homes. Have you looked at sort of converting to all electric home, or have any of you gone down that road? We've got a nod there. Yep, you've done that as well. Has it made a big difference for you in doing that? You found a benefit, or?
Well, I'm not paying a gas bill.
Well, that's a benefit, certainly is. But you've also got electricity that you can control and manage from your rooftop or from your storage system as well. So the idea that you've probably got better outcomes that you can achieve by managing all that one energy source in the home.
For me to chime in, I'm probably the most electric home here.
Yeah.
So I think I said the other day, I just got my electricity bill for the end of winter, and I was expecting it to be huge because we've got reverse cycle air conditioning on both levels and electric cars and all of that stuff that we talk about. And my bill was $1,700 credit for the end of winter. So it's possible if you go all the way. I know it costs a little bit, but yeah, if you go all the way, then yeah.
That's a great story, and you do hear many. How's it?
I've got 13 kilowatt solar system and 1 Tesla Powerwall. So 13 kilowatts of solar, 13 kilowatts of battery, and electric heating and cooling. So that'll do the job.
That's a great story, very exciting, and I hope everyone can achieve that.
If no one else puts their hand up, yeah.
So the idea of an Enphase energy system, we make a range of components, but you can use these individually or you can use them all together to create a diverse range of outcomes. And that's really in the story with Enphase and the way I see it, really, no job's too big or too small, and we can create pretty much any outcome for any type of home. And it's a question of really where you want to, what you want to do and how you want to make the application with the technology we provide. So we'll touch on each of the devices, and I'll give you a bit of a broad talk through all of the devices that we have at Enphase system. We talk about the components individually or as a system. One of the things that you will have as a system owner, I took a screen recording of the app, and I'm going to share that back with you later in the slides. The Enphase app is your door into your Enphase installation. I feel a bit sad about saying this. One of the things you don't get to see is the micro-inverter, the product that we make, many millions of, because that's hidden on your roof. And it's hidden inside the battery product as well. However, that's doing all the work and that's sending all the data. And so this app is really the app that you're going to engage with and see the performance and operation of your system. I know that some of you have got Enphase, and do you find that app is something that you use daily? Yep. And that's great to hear, right? Because it's a nice feeling to see solar production or get a reminder that you've achieved a certain amount of energy or produced over a month. I know it emails you and gives you a summary once a month as well. So it's a really nice resource, and it's reassuring as a homeowner, system owner, that that system is working hard for you. Now, these three key products here, we've got more products in the system, but the micro-inverter is what we talk about, because that's Enphase as a manufacturer. That's the product we design and develop. Now, an interesting story about the micro-inverter itself. Enphase is a global company. I don't know how well it's described, but Enphase micro-inverters are engineered in New Zealand. So it's in Christchurch in New Zealand as our engineering lab. It's been there for about, I'd say, around 16 years. And that's what we call the Micro-Inverter Centre of Excellence. And just over history, it worked out that Enphase had a contact in New Zealand, and there was a group of engineers that got together and built that lab, and it's remained there, and it's quite interesting. So they develop all of the technologies that are shipped worldwide, all based out of Christchurch, New Zealand. And it's a very big facility now. It includes micro-inverter engineering tables where there are engineers with soldering irons and are working out system components and things like that. There's also test chambers where micro-inverters are put in these very large test chambers, size of warehouses, many thousands of them, and they're cycled and tested continuously. They have to be very thorough in that work, because that's obviously a product supplied for worldwide markets, and very diverse range of climatic conditions and environments that these are going into. So that's just another sideline story about that product. And I'll talk about those micro-inverters a bit more in a moment. And then we've got, for storage, if you're curious about storage, we've got storage solution, the IQ Battery 5P. With the IQ system controller. So the idea is that now with low solar feed-in tariffs, you want to put that solar maybe into the home, put it into a battery so that you've got greater flexibility and diversity in the way that you use your energy throughout the house. So I'm probably, some of you will be very familiar with this, but micro-inverters are under the solar panels, one per panel. That's the solution to market. Now, the micro-inverters over the years have changed, and we continually change and update micro-inverters according to what changes in the market. And really, it's the solar panels. Over time, solar panels will change, and as they change, Enphase's manufacturer will update the micro-inverter to ensure that we've got maximum yield from the solar panel and productivity for the system. So you're getting the best efficiency from any solar installation. And we've got a range of sort of accessories that installers will put in on the roof to install the system. So the most unique thing about micro-inverters over, I guess, string inverters, we've got some string inverters here on the wall, which are also common in Australia, is that micro-inverters use an AC cable system, which is the same as what's in the home. String inverter systems use a DC cable system, which has a whole additional set of rules and regulations around it for safety requirements. So Enphase has a strong argument that it's the safest inverter solution in the market due to the architecture of the product. Now with an Enphase system, we're going to take a cable from the roof and we're going to feed it down to what we call a switchboard, or location of where maybe your batteries or the system controller for the batteries will be installed in the home. Now those products there, and I've got some examples of where these are mounted, but you'll find these at the side of a house, generally in a sort of might be in a garage. It's quite a common place to see those products as well. So those of you, some of you have got storage. Yeah, is that right? Whereabouts did your product get installed?
Same near the garage.
In the garage, yeah. Very common in Victoria for that to be the place for those storage products to go. And then all that system is going to communicate continuously through the Enphase cloud so that you can access the data 24/7. So one of the ideas around Enphase is that the software, it's very much a software-based system in the fact that the data is available for the life of the installation. So it's quite interesting. You can see the change in performance of your system over the entire life. You can go to any day of the week for any day of the year and have a look at system performance, operation. what it was doing one day or 1 year compared to the next year sort of thing. So the app is actually quite a powerful tool for you. Now, one part of this you'll notice a little EV charger example. One thing we talk about is what's going to happen in the future. Enphase does have products worldwide. We have electric vehicle chargers coming to market. We're bringing those into market to sort of show later this year. I'm not sure exactly when the release dates are for those, but we're currently launching those in Europe. So there is a lot of work being done to sort of bring more system components available, so you can, for want of a better word, accessorize your Enphase system and add other components that will work within the app so that you've got full visibility onto the operation, how your car's being charged. Maybe prioritize the solar to charge the car when the sun is shining rather than send that power to the grid. So there's a whole lot of smart software that can be used to operate and manage all of these other devices now for solar installations, which is a nice outcome. So before I sort of move on from there, it's probably a good opportunity to ask if anyone has any questions before we move into the next section at all. Yeah?
Is the battery weatherproof? So is it okay to be outside?
So look, it's a very good initial question. So Enphase designs a product that's designed for outdoor usage. To bore you with the technical details, there's a rating, an electrical rating that's called IP55. That rating allows for a component to be installed outdoors, an electrical component. And so that can be installed anywhere outside a building. More commonly, you'll see storage products put out of the sun. So generally inside a garage is a very common place because it's protected. These devices have to be mounted for 15 years, the warranty is for on the battery. So you want it to be in a location that's going to weather the life of the system. But these products are outdoor rated. You can put them anywhere on the side of a house, but generally they wouldn't be put in full sunlight. Yeah.
They need to be vented.
Sorry?
Do batteries need to be vented?
Do batteries need to be vented? Well, as a manufacturer, we provide a set of requirements. There are also requirements in the Australian battery installation standards, which are slightly different, and that just depends on the site and where they're positioned on the property. So from a venting perspective, we have a requirement of a minimum of 150 millimetres of clearance, which isn't very much, around the side of the unit. And that's also for practical reasons like access, being able to reach in and take the cover off if you need to access into the battery product itself and for installation. So it's not an onerous amount of space that's required. In fact, the Australian standards often will require much more than that, up to 600 millimetres.
So
and that depends
to a ceiling, it's got to be 600 down.
It's got to be spacing. It could be up to 600 above the unit. It could be. There's a minimum width clearance against, say, a habitable room or also an openable window. And so there are other rules around the spacing for that as well.
It applies to all batteries.
Applies to every single kind of product in the market. Yeah. So there's a specific set of requirements. If there's a gas meter on the side of the house, how far away physically you need to be from that meter is a requirement. So there are other rules around positioning.
It's kind of 600 mil is kind of if in doubt, you just go up 600.
Yeah.
So if it's near a window or if it's on a flammable wall, we have to put a sheet over the wall to cover the wall.
And the ceiling as well?
Yes, it's
above as well.
If it's going up towards the ceiling, say it was 300 mil off the ceiling, then you've got to put cement sheet on the ceiling because the ceiling, has to be flame proof on the ceiling.
I can show you an example. I've got a photo of that. I've actually without a cement sheeting behind the battery, so you can see sort of an example of what it looks like. And now it's not uncommon to see those on weatherboard houses.
But above.
Depending on the height of the eave, it may have to go up and across the eave as well.
Okay.
Depends on how high up above the battery you've got clearance. Yeah.
Sorry. That was installed today.
That's behind, though. I'm talking about fire check behind, above it.
Above it?
Yeah, like if you're putting it into a garage and you want to get the unit as high as possible to allow as much room in the garage. What is the maximum height? You've given me 600.
So here's a good question, probably a little bit of a technical question. It depends on the wall behind it. So, for example, if you...
Not the ceiling.
It depends on what's habitable behind it. So a habitable room has a certain rule about the type of non-combustible cladding that the battery has to be on. If it's a non-habitable room behind it, then that rule is different.
That
So-
rule does apply to the ceiling as well.
And the ceiling will
I
come
know
into it.
I've had it times with underneath the house. So we only had about that much space, and the battery was about here, so it was about 300, and we had to put cement sheet. So it was actually underneath the house or above the battery. So the 600 mil is like if you've got a measuring tape from, right, let's say here's one right here, a measuring tape from here. The 600 mil is kind of like a radius touching from the edge. So anything up here would have to be
600 out.
flame-proof.
Yeah, so yeah, again, as I said, manufacturers have requirements, and also the standards also have a set of rules that must be followed for any storage installation. And they're good rules, right? They're very practical, and it ensures that you've got good access to products and that that they're put in the correct places on a property. So there's good guidance in the standards now. So I've got some real world experiences. I'll touch on these. It's more to set a sort of a picture for how people think about. So these might sound made up, but these are actual customers. So we ran a webinar, and I got people to share their comments into the webinar I ran, and then we asked them if we could put some of these in these case studies. And a few examples. And I've got to try to sort of think of ones that would be relevant to maybe the queries that you would have. So low feed-in tariffs is one. It's a common one that comes up. In this example, these customers had a 7.8 kilowatt system. So let's say it's about 20 solar panels in size, probably a bit larger actually. But they don't use much energy during the day. So that's quite a common use case where people are working. Solar is working, but they're not capturing that solar because there's no usage at home. They've got this low feed-in tariff, which is now very common in Victoria. They're not getting much benefit from all that solar electricity going onto the grid. So they're not having a big impact on their energy bills. So an option for them is to put a storage product in. So therefore, when they come home, they can put the excess solar back into the home at night time. So we're sort of taking the solar, saving it for the evening, and that's really the idea of that battery product. Now, you do have this option with some storage product that you can use that as a backup solution as well. So if the grid fails at any point, if you've got a power outage, this home can still operate off that battery as well. This is a very common use case. Yeah.
Do the panels, when there's a power outage, do the panels continue to charge the batteries when there is an outage?
Yeah, now that's a really good question. So the question is around, well, if I've got batteries and the sun's shining, does my solar power continue to operate when there is no grid available? Now you do, it may be different for different products. For Enphase systems, your solar panels continue to operate. So the system is designed, so the Enphase IQ battery is designed to operate with IQ micro-inverters, and it communicates with them directly. And it ensures that they can continue to operate when there is no grid available. They can continue to charge the battery, so what you're doing is really gaining more backup duration during the daytime, which is great. And you can manage and extend the benefit of the backup with solar operating. So you really want to keep your solar running if you can on backup system. So that's the idea, and the design of the product is to do that. So that's a really nice question. And then we've got down here that with both solar and battery storage, Mark and Jenny can start to electrify the appliances and home for the full benefits of electric living. Now, at Enphase, we have a lot of people calling us up, and we hear a lot about all electric. It's really been a popular term over the last 12 to 24 months. A lot of people are coming off gas as well. We see a lot of people getting rid of their gas in the home and going to all electric, and then using storage as part of that sort of suite of solutions to give a total benefit in the home with all electric. And I've seen some really good examples of this occurring where people have really got good outcomes by doing that. The next use case, I've got about 3 use cases to share. One is blackout protection. Now, this may not be a priority for everyone, and it just depends on where you live. I know that for have any of you had sort of major blackouts where you're based? Yes, you've had a few. Whereabouts are you based? Camberwell.
Yes. Just not that long ago, actually. But
Yeah, okay.
for a short time.
For a short time, yeah.
A
couple of hours. And it's probably long enough to be annoying, right? Well, it obviously left an impact on you and you haven't forgotten, and you're like, right, I've got to solve this. But it's interesting. I'm lucky enough, I've managed to get an Enphase battery, and it's quite interesting because I can see that there's been outages now and I just don't even notice. You know, and before I would have, you know, the power would have been off for a period of time. Blackout protection can be good, and if you've got priorities, and the funny one is, and this story, I think these guys you have a fish story as well, don't you? But
yeah, I got
exotic fish. This is true, and I don't know if this is your example.
That's my story.
These might be the people who came to our webinar as well, and they brought up the same example.
Well, yeah, we asked him the reason why he bought Enphase battery and, you know, spent all this money, and he said, oh, well, you know, I like to play my computer games and I don't want to get distracted when I'm playing my computer games when the power goes out, and I've got tropical fish and my tropical fish are worth so much money and I love them, and if the power goes out for more than 2 hours my fish die and it's going to cost me like $5,000 to replace the fish. So I went and bought a battery. I thought, okay, cool, well he's doing it for the fish, he's literally doing it for the environment. That's good.
Well, we love our pets, right? I mean, like I always cringe a bit when I have to talk about this case study, but it's funny, right? It's everyone has their own needs and use cases. I like it. So blackout protection. We do see a bit of demand for this at Enphase out of the fringes of Melbourne. Of course, Dandenong ranges and things do get hit a bit with blackouts in summer and those fire risk regions. So we have seen a lot of interest in storage as well around for that very reason. Aside from sort of the intermittent blackout, would you be looking at storage to address that issue? Would that be a predominant issue for you? Yeah, so we're really thinking more about self-consumption, trying to maximise the benefit of the solar and take control. Yeah, and I would agree. I'd expect that in Melbourne. I think that would be the most common example of why people would get storage. Now the final one here, retiring from power bills, actually might be one more after this. I just like the photo, that's where I'd want to be right now. So we've got Bill and Mary, they've got a smaller micro-inverter system. So I know that some of you said you've had solar for a while. So what we've seen over the last few years is this really interesting increase in the size of solar systems. So 3 or 4 kilowatt systems were very common maybe only about 5 years ago, maybe 5 to 7 years ago. Now what we're seeing, the average system size in Australia is well over 8 kilowatts, more than 2.5 times the size. There's a few factors at play, of course. The prices of solar have dropped substantially over that time, which is fantastic. It means that we can afford larger systems for the same cost. And we are seeing a much more interest in maximising the roof capacity. So where microinverters come in is that you can actually fit as many panels on as possible using a microinverter system. In fact, you can be a lot more flexible than other system types. You can put as many panels in as you can physically fit without any restriction. So that's where it's quite interesting that we see these sort of numbers. But a lot of people, they want to consider adding 5 batteries into any type of system because they want to minimise the electricity costs, the operating cost in the home, and therefore can relax and getting total control of their system and maximise the return on the investment over the life of that installation. So it sort of adds value to existing systems. You can get that system to work harder for longer for you as well.
With your battery going to draw off, what can you run and can't run?
Good question. What can you run and you can't run? So, this question may take a bit to answer because it requires sort of an understanding about the capacity. So everyone's needs are different. You've all got different size houses and different numbers of appliances.
Specifically during a blackout.
So during a blackout, again, it depends on what you want to run. Some people will say, I only need the fridge running or I only need a few lights running. Other people might say, I want my air conditioner, my fridge, I want everything in the house running. I don't want to lose any power. So those two outcomes require different answers. A basic need may be 1 battery.
What do you want to run?
Well, I'm just saying.
I mean, the technical answer is it would depend on how many units you install, how many batteries you install. So if you told us what you were aiming to run, we could tell you how many batteries you need, because I believe it's 3.7 kilowatts. per hour?
Yeah, so in electrical terms, it's 3.84 kilowatts of power from one battery. Now, 3.84 kilowatts is the majority of continuous load in the home. If you're running your oven, if you had an electric oven, that's probably running around 3 kilowatts, so you may not run that. If you wanted to run all of your home appliances, you may need 2 batteries, which would give you about 7.5 kilowatts of output. So the more batteries you put in, the greater the amount of power that can be delivered and the more of the home that can be covered. Now, some people only need 1 battery to do that. Other people may need 2, 3 or 4 batteries. It depends on the size of the home. Yeah.
If you've got a 5 kilowatt AC unit, does that then mean one battery would only run it for 1 hour and then it would die?
You might be good at this. You do AC units.
Yeah, AC is a little bit technical because the kilowatt rating is not actually the draw of the unit, it's the amount of energy that it outputs or the amount of heat energy that it outputs. So a 5 kilowatt air conditioning unit is probably only using about 2 kilowatt hours. So,
2.5 hours.
yeah, and it depends, it might not necessarily, they don't always run at full capacity either. So the only thing that you get that really runs at full capacity flat out is like an electric car charger, which will be like 7 kilowatts and it will just go at like red line 7 kilowatts. But an air conditioner might kind of chime in and out. But
Induction cooktop?
well, yeah, that would depend on how hard you're running it as well. That's the thing, a lot of these things are like cars. It depends on how fast you're trying to drive it, whether you're driving up a hill or down a hill. So that's why, like Duncan, his head starts spinning when you get asked questions like that.
It's hard to answer in a very precise way. Because it's often in the solar industry, we will look at everyone's needs, and you as a consumer say, how many batteries do I need? And go, well, how much electricity are you using? Let's have a look at what you're using in the home, how much you consume, and the term is like maximum demand. Really, what are the appliances you're all running at the same time? And then let's plan for that and organise it. If you want to have a system to run your whole home, you'll need a larger system. Or do you want a system that maybe will cost you less, but will run a portion of the house? And so we look at that, and it's a balancing act, because it all depends on what your needs are versus the product, the solution that you end up buying. And so a lot of people want to sort of maybe think about that and plan for that in the right way. What happens in the solar industry, and probably another way to answer this, is that a lot of people will install solar, and a lot of people I know who come to me and go, oh, you're the solar guy, can you help us with your system? And I go, yeah, sure. They go, oh, do I need battery? I go, you might do, and how much do I need? And I'll say, well, how about you can always start with 1 and you can always add, right? And that might be another option. So some people like to do things in steps. And I think with the modularity of a product like Enphase, and it's specific to Enphase actually, you can actually add to your system over time.
Does the size of the solar array determine the optimum size of the battery?
The size of the solar array, there's a few factors at play. How much electricity you're using in the home, how much extra solar is available, which will then theoretically be available to charge the battery. So you want to have a look at the system and say, do I have any excess solar?
But there's no problem with having more batteries than you've got a...
There's no problem having more batteries. The downside is maybe get to winter and they're not charging, take a longer to charge. Yep. Or maybe you need to charge them from the grid should you need to override that. Ideally, you've got a balanced design. That's why companies like Lightning are really good, because they're going to look at your system and go, here's the right amount of solar for your home, and here's the suitable number of batteries to fit into that. Yeah, it's quite amazing how different the solutions are for every house. We look at the types of solar systems installed, and obviously the systems getting larger, but all houses are different. They've got different numbers of panels and different numbers of batteries. It just depends on the need. Yeah. So it is worth sort of spending that extra time just talking and getting a picture about what your requirements are. But I do like the idea about the ability. If you're not, if you like the idea of it but not sure how far you want to take it, just do things in stages. It's actually quite easy to do, and you'd agree, right? It's easy to add batteries. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can see that we install the gateway unit, and then there's the 5 kilowatt unit underneath, 5 kilowatt hour unit under that. So you just add more of them if you want to, and you can do similar things with different setups. But it really is a kind of discovery session that you would have to run with one of us as to what you're using, what you want to use with a blackout. what your budget is, you know, what we can realistically achieve with that budget, because anything's possible, but this can get expensive if you go overboard, particularly if you get more than you need, yeah.
So I guess budget's a big one, but also you've got your energy use and understanding your energy use, and then there's physical access. You know, how much space do you have? Can you fit the products in on the home and the places as well? So all of those sort of considerations are got to come to the forefront so you can get a good, sensible outcome for the home.
Is that the capacity, 5 kilowatts?
Yeah, for 1 unit, yeah.
So yeah, one Enphase IQ battery. Enphase make one type of microinverter. There are two or three versions of those. One battery, and we just say there's one 5 kilowatt battery. If you want more capacity, you just keep adding batteries. So up to 4 of those will typically be installed in a home, which will give 20 kilowatt hours in total.
You just mentioned the different inverters.
We'll get to those, yeah. So I've got some slides coming up to talk about the products. So let's have a look at some of those products and the benefits of those. So I'm going to talk right now about the microinverters. I thought let's just have a few moments to talk about the microinverter, and then we'll go and we'll talk about the battery, more about the some of the aspects of that, and we'll talk about the monitoring, and that'll take us near to the top of the presentation as well. Here we go. It might come up. That's okay, I'll talk through it. I don't mind not having sound. So what we're going to show in this demonstrate the video is talking about a string inverter traditional systems. They're all connected together directly. So if there's shade on any one of the panels, a traditional inverter type, the entire solar panel will be impacted. So every solar panel in that array will be impacted. It sort of behaves as like one singular panel on the roof. So with microinverters, we put the microinverters on the roof under each panel. If there's shade on any part of that roof, only the panels under that shade will be impacted. So we get this additional benefit to the home. And this is what really the goal of the product is doing. The idea is that we're trying to maximise the output of energy from your roof. Now, that does lead to other design solutions as well. And I think that might be the end of the video. So that's really the goal of Enphase, is to try to create that independence in the roof. But by creating independence within the solar panels, we've got another benefit. And in fact, I've got a slide that comes up that shows that in a couple of slides' time actually, is about we can put the panels anywhere on the roof as well, which we can't do with other system types. So the microinverter we have in the market is called the IQ8. Some of you may have heard about this microinverter before. So this device here, there are a couple of different power versions, but the installer will choose the version according to the type of solar panel that's being used on the home. And these microinverters are a weatherproof, electrically safe microinverter designed to go under the solar panel. And one of the best things that I can talk about with the microinverter is this 25-year warranty. This has just come out 1st of October, literally just a week or so ago. And it's only just recently Enphase has made that announcement and changed it to a 25-year warranty, which I think is quite interesting. As a manufacturer, that's a long, long time to support a product. That means that Enphase will support that for the next 25 years. How can they do that? Well, it comes from experience in terms of all of the field work we've done with the technology. So all those 76 million microinverters out in the field, they all send data. And we can see the operation, and you can, as a customer, can see the performance of every microinverter. And Enphase builds up a real knowledge base around that. And so we're able to help with the engineering and development of the products to give a very robust device. So these products are very well known in the industry, and if you speak to any solar installer, they're going to say that Enphase is probably the most reliable inverter that period, and any solar installer will tell you that.
Enphase is the best.
It's a very, very good product, and I just think that this is quite amazing that they're able to do this for the market, and I think that's a really good testament to the confidence in the brand.
What's the limitation? So it says limited warranty.
Limited warranty. Well, limited warranty based on the warranty document is it's got to be installed in the right methodology. It's got to be followed the installation requirements of the product. So there are rules around installation, right? And that means being installed under the solar panel, and those are required to be installed by accredited electricians. So those are essentially what stands as a limited warranty. Other rules are you can't just go and keep shifting your system around different houses around Melbourne. It's got to stay on that property when it's installed. Okay, so there are rules around that. And that's essentially what it means in a nutshell. Now, the idea is that with this microinverter, you can pack more power into your roof spaces. So we're trying to maximise the energy out of your roof. So you might have some, does anyone have any complex roof lines? And you might not be able to put a long row of solar panels. Well, the Enphase is the only brand really. You can put one solar panel on its own on that small roof over there. One solar panel on another roof, a couple of solar panels on a different roof. So that's a product that we've actually, electrically, we can do this. I would say it's the only product can do that in Australia to that degree. And that's just due to the electrical design of the product. Now, and that gives real benefit to you. And then we've got the ability to match with the latest solar technology, of course, and it's got that 25-year warranty as well. Now, before October, this warranty was having to be purchased by customers to extend it. Now that's included as part of the product, yeah, without cost. Here's that busy roof line. So you won't see this on other system types. Now it's a bit of an extreme example, but really what we're trying to say is you've got total flexibility with the system. And it won't impact the other solar panels, no matter where you put the solar panels on the system, and you can maximise the benefit. And that's good, that should give you some really good outcomes, especially if you're adding batteries on a site, you can sort of maximise the energy yield in the home. That was the microinverter. Let's have a quick look at the battery. Does anyone have any questions about that before I move forward? I just sort of jumped up that slide.
I'm not sure with you, but I've got the IQ7. Is there a disadvantage? You've got 8, I've got the 7s. Is there a disadvantage with the 5P having IQ7s?
There's no disadvantage. So IQ7 microinverter was the generation before IQ8. We brought the IQ8 out for a particular characteristic for the new solar panels. So IQ7s and IQ8s are very, very similar as a device. We're often paired to panels in the 300 watt range. Panels are now in the 400 watt capacity. We sort of rate them by wattage in the industry. So we've got a high powered microinverter to suit. That said, there's no disadvantage in using IQ7 with the new IQ battery 5P. They are designed to work directly with that battery product, so you'll get all of the functionality that the IQ8s will have. There's really no, you shouldn't have any concerns about having that product on the battery itself. If you had a very early microinverter, there are different things we have to do to make sure it operates correctly, but the new IQ7s and IQ8s, no problem at all.
Duncan, what about the system controller then? So if they've got an existing Envoy, then they'll have to upgrade to a new system controller with a new gateway.
Yes, so
Do we want to explain that, or is that getting too technical?
Is that not that Duvalaki there?
yeah, so yep, that's exactly the technical term for it. This Duvalaki. This is what we call the system controller. So I actually get it open there. I need 2 hands to do it actually.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the back?
Replace the Envoy, the old Envoy?
So if you've got an existing Enphase system, that's got the cover off. So you don't actually see that when the door's open. You will need to replace the existing Envoy, or the Envoy is the monitor. Every system has a monitor. With the battery product, this is a monitor, but it also is the safety mechanism to disconnect the house from the grid, because that's a requirement of a system that powers its own house.
Which is in the Envoy now?
It's in this device.
But
So
in my system,
in your system, it doesn't have it. No. So that would be replaced with that unit. Yep. And that's a requirement of this product. Yeah.
So
that is a
technically
consideration.
that's a slight disadvantage if you wanted to install batteries. Technically. Since you asked. I'll give an honest
It's a replacement.
answer. We're here to give honest feedback.
Yeah, people do. People obviously get disappointed they might have to replace a part, but unfortunately there's not much we can do to change that outcome because of the way that batteries operate when they disconnect from the grid. We need a special device in there to do that. Yeah. You had a question there?
Do the microinverters work better with some types of panels than others?
Do microinverters work better?
Or they can be.
Well, Enphase is we always said we're sort of agnostic to panels. We don't really care what panels are connected to the microinverters. It's around, we're working in the electrical industry. There are some electrical parameters that they have to meet. We fit 99% of all panels on the market. And there's no difference in terms of operation. There's really no difference. It just comes down to the size of panel, the amount of power it produces, and so there's a range of sort of shapes and sizes of panels. And so Lightning have got a range of panels I can see here, and they've got very good, I can see they're good brands because I can tell by looking at sadly enough I can tell brands by just looking at the front of them. But you do your selection based on quality and performance, and you know those products work very well for the application.
Yeah, well, the micro-inverters are going to work with any of the panels that we sell. So basically, we bring people in and you basically choose the panel that you want, and then we make sure we got the right micro-inverter for that, and then we go from there. Do you want batteries? Yes or no? Do you need EV charger? Yes or no? Hot water, we can run through everything, but it all we make sure everything works.
Can you run different panels on the one system?
That's a very nice question. I love that question.
You must be waiting for that question.
That's a great one.
Different microinverters, like a 7 and the lowest to put them.
So the one thing, I enjoy answering this question only because in the solar industry you can't do this with any other brand.
Right, but you can.
But because Enphase, this microinverter is actually an inverter, and so it doesn't really care what the inverter next to it is doing. So you can have one microinverter on one panel, you can have a different panel on the next microinverter. So we see a lot of solar companies that go, well, we're going to have a test station and we're going to put our different panels with the microinverter on microinverters on the one system, and we can compare between the panels. So there are really good benefits of having this. So in time, if you updated the system and the panel wasn't available, because it does happen, you don't have to change the panels. You can add a different panel onto that system. Yeah.
It's basically the most flexible system that you could get. You can pretty much do everything.
But can you run IQ7s together with IQ8s?
So you can install them on the same property. So you're going to make me answer this, and it's going to sound complicated. So we need different communications. We have different communications between IQ7s, which is a previous version of microinverter, and the IQ8s. Now what we do is we have a monitor on the IQ8s, and we have a monitor on the IQ7s. So you need two monitors on the site. So if you were putting your battery in and you added IQ8s, you would keep that original box on the wall, and you would add that as well. Yep. So again, it depends on the application. We can help provide the solution for that. So we'd sort of talk about, go through the battery spec. We talked about this before. So we've got this, the amount of energy is the amount of power delivered over time in the battery. And the battery has 5 kilowatt hours. That means it can deliver 1 kilowatt for 5 hours or 5 kilowatts for 1 hour. And that has a maximum continuous output of 3.84, we'll call that kilowatts. So 5 divided by 3.84 gives us about 1.5 hours of continuous output at full demand. Now, most batteries don't need to deliver that much. You might be delivering 200 watts, 300 watts, 500 watts. If you look at your home load, it's going to be fairly low throughout the day, and then it will jump up and down according to when you turn appliances on throughout the day. So this is used to sort of guide us in terms of the capacity. The usage time will vary according to the appliances running. Now it has an ability to deliver double the output very quickly so that the system continue to support the loads in the home. Very important when you've got a backup product because when your home is running just on the battery and it has suddenly you turn everything on at once, it has an initial what we call surge demand, and we need to be able to support that. And so that stops the system shutting down by having this very high surge capacity. This is extremely high. You don't see many products with this in the industry, and that means it's very robust and will help get you through the blackout. So it's a powerful product, very reliable, no single point of failure. Now we talk about this a lot at Enphase. We've got many devices, so one microinverter under each panel. We've also got 6 microinverters inside the battery itself. Each of these are independent, so if we removed a microinverter, the battery will still operate. It will just operate at slightly less output. And so the advantage of that is you've got redundancy, so that means you don't have complete system shutdown. You should be able to still continue to operate even with a loss of one device on an installation. So that's the theory behind no single point of failure. This one here, we've even had homeowners come into the Enphase office to listen to the products on our wall. No noisy fans. We've had some people that have experienced very noisy fans. So older inverter systems used to have fans for cooling. Now our products don't require it. Because it's such a small device, we can just use air ventilation to keep the devices cool. And that's a real advantage, because fans can be very noisy. They can also wear out over time, and so can shorten the life of a product. And this is why the warranties can be so long in our products. We've got no moving parts in the devices themselves, and that's an important fact. 6,000 cycles is you'll see this on storage a lot. It's a number of the times the battery can be completely made to go flat and then recharged again from the sun. And so that can do that 6,000 times. That's the warranted life of the lithium iron phosphate chemistry, which is in this product here. Oh, and that one on the wall there.
What happens after 6,000 though?
So 6,000, the battery will be at a capacity of 60% capacity. It'll still be usable, but that's the warranted life of the unit. Now, it's a standard practice in the industry to have a set number that the warranty will go up to for any manufactured product for storage. And after that time, the product will continue to operate, but it won't have the same original capacity. So it'll have less than 5 kilowatts at that point, probably 4 kilowatt hours of capacity usable. So it'll drop over time, and that's normal for storage.
I know it's LFP, but is there a way of controlling the maximum limit that it charges to? So can you set it to 80%, so it will only charge up to 80%? Is there the ability to do that?
So your question is, do you want to limit the battery to charge to 80%?
Like you do in a car, like an NMC battery you would limit.
Oh, because you've got high charging. Yeah, with lithium iron phosphate chemistry. No, I mean, all lithium products, so there is what's called a battery management system inside the battery, and it's got sensors looking at the cells, and that's designed to manage that cell. This product is warranted to 100% to 0% for 6,000 cycles. It's all managed in the product.
So there's no need to
adjust any of the charging, anything like that. It's fully warranted for that, and that's what it's designed to do. Yeah. When we talk about safety, we've said here lithium iron phosphate, so no cobalt free. There's been words about this in the industry. What this really means is that some products require extra cooling mechanisms. This is the most stable type of lithium chemistry used in this product, and that means that it's as stable as you can get with lithium. Of course, there's management systems. It must be installed with ventilation, but we've got the requirements for that. It doesn't need much ventilation space because it doesn't need fans to force the air over the product. So all of that's been designed in this all-in-one product.
Additional batteries would just be side by side rather than stacked one on top of the other, because it looks like it's a door.
Oh, yeah. So obviously the battery is accessed from the front.
Yep.
Now you need access to the front for the wiring. Yep. Batteries can be installed both side by side or above each other. Yep. You could put them back to back on the ground. There is actually a photo. I'm coming up with a ground mount. Thank you.
Here we go. I'll show you guys.
So there's the micro-inverters there in the top of the battery. Have a close look afterwards. And that's a lithium cell in the base here.
They're 8s as well, like Series 8?
These are a version of the 8 for the battery specifically. So these can be actually replaced and removed. Not that you need to do that, and they just sit in there working away. And because they're individual units, there's a big surface area. We don't need a fan for cooling.
How many can fail?
How many can fail?
Yeah. How many of them I get before we'd have to attend to it?
6. So you can actually go all the way down to 1 and it will still operate. Yeah, it's it's a unique product in that sense. But using this architecture of the micro-inverter product, we can have individual units, small units together to give you an overall a big output product.
And if one had failed, how do we know?
Because each product is monitored, and in the app it identifies every microinverter inside the battery, and it will show if a product is not operating. Yeah, and that's shared and that data is continuous, so you'll be able to see that in the monitoring app. Yeah.
Are there restrictions with the installation of this installation question in a garage where the car comes forward to it? Do you have to have bollards or anything in front of it?
Oh,
That's a good question. Yes, if the car could hit it, then there needs to be a bollard in front of it. Even if you feel you would never hit it with your car, potentially you're going to sell your house to someone who's not such a great driver as you are, and they're going to hit it. Or even if you don't park your car in your garage at all, if you're like, no, I just store boxes in there, I don't park my car in there, then it has to have a bollard in front of it. So,
yeah.
but this is probably a good example. If this was a mid wall and you were reversing in here and the battery was going behind the mid wall, in this instance you wouldn't need it because if the car was driving in here, they couldn't actually drive on an angle to hit it. So you can get around it that way at times, but it's a little bit, yeah, like I said, if it's possible to hit a car there, then it needs it, and we need an electrical inspector to come out, and they sure as hell remind you that it needs it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we see a few bollards. Do they have to all be yellow? I don't think so.
The ones at Bunnings just come yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe are you saying we should look for some stylish bollards?
Yeah.
Go get some. I don't know where they get them.
No.
So the preference obviously is wall mounted, above ground level.
Yeah, well, I've argued with inspectors about that because they said it could get hit by a caravan.
No way, really?
Yeah, this is electrical inspectors for you. They can be a bit difficult. Like I said, they kind of go off the worst case scenario of the least cognitively able person, what they might do, and no one wants the house to blow up, I guess. So, but yeah, if you can, yeah.
What kind of put it
Well, you can definitely put it high up, but then sometimes you still need a bollard there anyway, because they would argue that maybe someone's coming in with a caravan or a four-wheel drive that has a flat back, and they could still, if this was the battery here, then they could still technically reverse into it. So, yeah, it's a bit of a sticky situation, but I would generally say, in most instances, you expect a bollard if it's in the garage.
Yeah.
Far away in front of the
That's not regulated, actually.
yeah.
So, yeah, usually pretty close, to be honest. Like, I think the regulation is a bit of a joke at times, because if a car was coming in, they would just hit it, or a car would just come and hit the bollard into the battery, and the battery will blow up anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is regulations we're talking about here. They don't have to make sense. They just exist just because they exist, and you don't really argue with it because you can't.
So if you actually damage that cell, it will catch fire.
Duncan?
Well, the cells are engineered to withstand impact. Now, no matter what lithium product you have, any extreme compression can cause the plates to short, and then that can cause an explosion. That's a very extreme use case. So they're designed to withstand impact, and that's why you need bollards and things to protect them. And it's a practical reason to do that.
Like some of the Tesla cars are caught fire and they can't put them out. Is that the same technology?
It's a different chemistry, so that's So that's they use a manganese in there, so it's a different chemistry. Lithium has different makeup of chemistries. The lithium iron phosphate is considered the most stable type of chemistry, so it doesn't need external cooling system. So the cooling systems are used to maintain thermal management, because lithium, if it isn't controlled, can what they call heat up and cannot be prevented from. Cannot be stopped, and it'll continue to heat up and then self-ignite. Yeah. So that's pretty extreme, but that's the potential. The products are manufactured and engineered to the strictest of world standards. They're built with protections, and then these additional requirements of bollards and things are not a bad idea, just to give that longevity and protection. These products are designed to be on your home 15 years, so you want to make sure that they're secure for that life. The main thing in the product is you're buying from a manufacturer who's got a good management system. So the electronics in it is designed to be able to manage the battery and ensure that the battery is operating correctly continuously. So those are all monitored and live fed monitoring. So we can see physically the condition of all the cells as well as the micro-inverters in the product, and that's all live data. So Enphase, when you install any of our products, you say have it internet connected, which you will do, and then that way you've got full visibility, the installer and Enphase does. Yeah.
You have rapid shutdowns built into the battery as well, don't you, if there's an arc fault?
Yeah, so this is sort of a US reference here, but there's a rapid shutdown is a requirement in the US. We don't have it in Australia officially, but Enphase has it built into the product because we're a US manufacturer. So rapid shutdown is a way of isolating the system into safe electrical voltages, and we do that by using a micro-inverter. So rather than having a very large inverter running very high voltages around the house, we have small inverters running lower voltages, and those voltages, technically you can touch the cables with your hands and it's electrically safe, and that's a particular type of electrical voltage, and what that means is that it's much safer to manage and deploy, and in the US it's considered the safest product for application on rooftops and homes.
So what voltage is actually running off your micro-inverters back to your main box?
So back in the home it's an AC voltage, so 240 volts AC.
You wouldn't want to touch that.
You wouldn't want to touch that, but on the DC side, when we talk about rapid shutdown, it's all extra, what we call extra low voltage. So it's considered, which is touch safe voltage on the DC side.
I've been an electrician for a long time, and I've touched both. And AC is not that bad. DC once, and oh my god, it was horrible. But the difference is with AC is if you touch AC, it'll trip the breaker straight away. Whereas if you touch DC, it won't trip the breaker, and if there's an arc fault with DC, it'll just keep burning, and that's where sometimes you see them on the news. But if there's, usually in Queensland where there's a bunch of cowboy installers up there, rooftop isolators catch on fire and they just keep burning until the sun goes down. So Enphase won't do that. It can't do that because it's AC technology. So if there was a fault, just arcs, it goes bang, the breaker trips, and that's it. It's just a phone call, why did my solar stop working? So it's not like you're going to have a fire burning on your roof or in your garage for 6 or 8 hours till the rest of the day, until the sun goes down, basically.
Yeah, so electrically it's a very different architecture of system, and that just by design limits the risk of fire risks in the home. We're not running those DC cables through the home, and the DC that is there is a touch-safe DC voltage. It's not a lethal voltage that's running. So
it's touch-safe DC?
It's below 120 volts DC in the regulation.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a regulation in the Australian electrical code is around extra low voltage, which Enphase is in that space. And because we play in that space, we're able to put panels on different rooftops. We're able to run our wiring around on the rooftop because we're working in an extra low voltage DC design system. So there are different regulations that apply, and that's why we've got a lot more flexibility with the installation. Yeah.
If you want to touch one, we've got one right here. Oh, sorry, this one's not hooked up, I hope.
So we talked before about this is a weatherboard house. This is a habitable room behind here. Now Enphase says we can have 150 mils of clearance around the battery. The standard says we've got to have clearance 600 mils outside. So this is a non-combustible sheeting that's been painted, put on the side of the house, and the battery's fitted onto that wall because of a weatherboard type of house. If it's a brick house, different story, right? You don't need to put that on. So different applications. Here's a brick. This is in a garage. It's a brick wall, 2 AC IQ batteries, and there's the system controller. This is a pedestal floor mount, so we do have a product we don't see many of these being used, but you can actually put the battery on a special pedestal with a skirt, so it fits on the ground as well.
Whether internal or external?
Whether internal or external, yeah. So this is just designed to go on a sort of a concrete pad as well. Yeah, so there are solutions.
3-phase?
Yes. So, good question. So how many of you have got 3-phase homes? How many of you are not sure? No, so 3 of you have three-phase homes. So solar gets put on, a lot of people have three-phase homes in Victoria. Does anyone not know what three-phase means or is? So you can have up to 3 electrical cables running into your home. Most domestic houses have 1. Houses with a lot of electrical appliances or consumption need to have more power supply, so they generally run that over 3 separate cables into the home. And that's called three-phase. Now, on larger homes, you want to have your solar connected on all of those three phases. So some solar systems are one phase. Enphase is a 3-phase product. Micro-inverters can be installed across 3 phases. Now there's some important points to note, and hopefully I don't get too technical for you, but with battery products, the IQ system controller in the battery can be installed in a 3-phase home.
So that's one delineating difference between the Powerwall. The big one.
But the key is in the way it operates. So when you're on a 3-phase home, when you're on a day-to-day basis, the batteries will just offset any of the phases in the home. So if you're using power on phase 3, the battery will offset the use on phase 3. So it's used across all the phases. And this is quite typical of a lot of storage products, when you go into backup mode in a 3-phase house, the product will only deliver onto one of the phases. Okay, and that's due to the complexities of 3-phase design and backup operation. And it's just most commonly, these sorts of products will be 1-phase backup, but 3-phase operation when on grid. Okay, if that makes sense to you.
I'm trying to explain that. So with the, I think it's called net metering is what you're talking about, I'm not sure. So, well actually it is. So the meter is 3 phases in the electricity meter, and then the gateway there, the gateway at the top is 3-phase and the battery single phase. And if your solar is 3-phase, if you're exporting solar on 1 phase but you're pulling on the other phase, then what it'll do is it'll basically net out at the meter as 0. So it's still like, because I thought this originally because you've got 3 different lines. I'm like, how can the power jump from one line to the other? It can't. But what they do is the energy retailer just balance it out. So you export it on phase 2, but you were pulling on phase 1 at the same time. They just net it out to 0, so you don't get charged. So technically you're not using the power on all 3 phases. It's just like the battery might be on 1 phase, but you are not getting charged for what you're using on the other phases if you're exporting. It's kind of, I don't know if I explained it any better, but...
Yeah. You had 3 batteries, could you connect one to each of the 3 phases?
Yes, you could. But when you're on grid in Australia, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
There's no benefit in doing it actually. So, but it's more about backup. People ask, well, I've only got 1-phase backup, my battery, I want 3 phases. Well, the question is, what do you want to run in backup? And there's big arguments for and against this. Do you really want your 3-phase air conditioner running in backup mode? Not really, because your battery will last about half an hour, and then you have no backup. So there's sort of arguments for and against having 3-phase appliances.
Whatever you want on backup has to be electrically connected.
Whatever you want on backup, very good point, has to be on the same phase that the battery's on the same connection. Now this is standard practice, and electricians will look at the switchboard and determine and move the loads and make sure you've got the loads that you want running on backup on the same phase as the battery. Yeah. Now, and that said, when we think about the solar, you can have 3 phases of solar. Same goes for the solar. When you go into backup and you've got 1 phase of battery, you'll have 1 phase of solar running. Okay, because that's the active, we call the active line in the house. It's good to be aware of that. So 1/3 of the solar will be running and the battery will continue to run in the home. That's standard operation.
So Luke just said you can connect them to the 3 different batteries to 3 different phases. The average sized system for Enphase would be 2 5Ps, I would have thought.
It's a good guess, yeah. And I think you're right. When I look sort of anecdotally at the numbers, it's 2 batteries I see on average being installed.
So you could connect both of those to individual phases.
Yeah.
And then have 2/3 of your 2 of your phases being active in a blackout. Yep.
No.
You still can only run on one.
You only put them on the same line. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just since we're getting really technical here, is it a possibility to have 3 gateways and 3 batteries?
Absolutely, go for it. I'd love you to buy 3 gateways. Go to town. Yeah.
This is that thing we do with Tesla. I hate to bring it up, but they have the same situation where if you want 3 phases, so you can have backup on 3 phases with 3 gateways and 3 batteries. However, you cannot back up 3-phase loads because it's imbalanced. So you can have single-phase loads across each phase. And then in the instance of Tesla, I know a little bit more about Tesla, you have to swipe between different kind of logins in the app. So yeah, I believe Enphase is probably similar. It can be done. All this stuff is kind of like, right, well, let's look at your house, let's look at what you want to do. And unfortunately, when you get to this end of things, you're like, well, how much money do you have? Because
Yeah.
and then usually people go, blackout's not, I can live without this, no, that's fine. We'll just go 1 phase.
We do see some very, very diverse range of requests coming in, and there are some things people do and you think, I'm not sure the value of doing this, but go for it. But again, it comes down to how practical do you want to be, and what is it? What are you trying to achieve, and things. But the products are designed, they do a good job, and they're designed to support the home and backup, and they work very well on grid as well. So you're getting the full benefit of the battery all the time, and that's one of the things with any storage product. Someone mentioned before about if I didn't have much solar, one of the really goals of a battery, no point it just sitting on the wall not being used. You want that product to be used all the time. That's one of my belief in terms of maximising the value of the product. So really, you want to be making a good design and getting that battery running all the time, charging the day, discharging at night, because self-consumption is the highest value return you're going to get on that product. Having it sitting there waiting for blackout, that's not high value. That's an expensive way to store energy and use it at a later date. It may be a use case for that, but that's why having control over the system is really good. And in the next point with the app, let's just touch on this. I've got a picture of the app here, and I've got a screen recording. Hopefully you can see this. I think this is playing. So it's really, this is the actual system running. You can see the battery's charged up here, half charged. We've got a setting for self-consumption of the battery, and then we've got all of the energy. This will rotate around. And then we can click on the app and we can go into live and see where the solar's going in the home. Going to the home loads, is it charging the battery? So you can see on the system, it's not exporting to the grid because it's using all the solar in the home. And then you can go into the settings and you can actually put on Storm Guard to detect and save the battery for backup when there's a storm. So it looks at the Weather Bureau's data, and you can change the settings, self-consumption, savings, or backup mode. Then back in the app itself, so scanning through quickly, we can then go back and actually look at different days of the week, choose the day. This is all live recording. You just go back in, click a date, and then we can observe the readings and summary of each of the days. And we can actually turn on different data points, solar production, consumption, import, export, and we can go to town inside the app and look at those data points throughout the system. Even go back and view years, so year on year. That's the total data for each month of this year, for example. A lot going on in here, but there's a grid dependence. We can see how much of the home is using the solar and how much is still relying on the grid. So we're looking at these comparisons, changing day to day, month to month. Click on the app, now we can go into each panel and see the performance. You can see the numbers are all different here. It's easy to, it could be different size panels, it could be the shading, so that's very common. All of that data is available and the app is sharing that continuously. That's going to scroll around again, so you'll be able to see that as it goes through.
Can that give you $1? So can you put your tariffs in there and it sort of gives you $1 sort of saving, or?
It does do tariffs in there. Dollar savings, it doesn't show. Yeah, I don't think it summarises the savings, but it does. You can put tariff times in. So what it does do, in the settings here, savings mode, what you can do is put in different tariff times and go, okay, I want the battery to discharge when the tariffs are most expensive.
Yeah.
I want to charge the battery when the tariff's at its lowest. So what you're doing is you're maximising the value of the battery through savings mode. It just depends on your power bill to make those decisions before sort of making the settings. You can always adjust settings in the battery to suit. So the app is good in the fact that it's very accessible, and you've got this sort of good data patterns. You can see patterns of the blue of the solar there, for example, your consumption data, and then your import and export data is in grey. And you can see how that battery, a battery is contributing into the benefiting the home. And that's really nice. I think data is probably one of the biggest valuable assets in the system.
Can you access it on a computer rather than
Absolutely, yep. Now we show the app because a lot of people just using their phones these days, but this same data is available on your computer. And what you can actually do, there is a reports page, so you can download these summaries as data points as well. And that's all within the Enphase monitoring platform.
You said it's live monitoring, so you have to leave it. How do you?
So this is live here.
To link to export the data. Like if I didn't have my computer on at home, like how does the data?
It just gets saved in the portal.
So it's saved in the cloud, yeah.
The cloud,
yep.
yeah.
So data is saved every 15 minutes. Live data you turn on through the app on your computer, and it opens up that channel for 15 minutes at a time. So you're not going to leave the live data just running continuously. It's just, it times out. So you just go and you press a button like I've done on the screen here, and it just shows the live feed. You can see what it's doing. The data, the downloaded data is 15-minute interval data. And
So
that's all
we've actually got our Enphase system on the roof here. We've got 7 kilowatts of REA panels with the Enphase micro-inverters, and we've got the data on the screen over here. So maybe after Duncan's done, we can see how much each panel's produced today up there on the screen. And you can go in, you can see graphs and stuff. We haven't set up the full metering and battery here, so we just see the production of the panels. But you can see that you can do what we've done if you're really nerdy in your house and leave it on. If you've connected it up to a computer, that's from the portal online.
Oh, right.
So, or you can just check your phone. But we have it there just cause. So.
That could be my last slide. So I just wanted to say, that like in summary, really, that you're going to get more power per kilowatt hour for battery. So this is more of a sales summary. 5 kilowatt hour modularity in each of these battery products. And you've got that warranty. So it's actually 15 years on the battery, which has been standard with the battery, and 25 years. In fact, this warranty on the battery, that's you won't find many. I don't know if there are other battery products with 15-year warranties. Generally see 10 on batteries. So it's Enphase are really putting their support behind the products that are sold in the country as well. Yeah, and we'll keep answering questions. I think you had one here at the front.
Yeah, probably more for Luke with your installs for clients with battery.
Yeah.
What are you seeing with payback? Roughly, I'm sure everyone's different, but
Say around 8 years.
yeah, okay.
I'd say it's around there. It's one of those things, it's so variable, it depends. I always say you're kind of speculating on the future of the energy prices. It's like a bit like trying to speculate on the stock market.
Yep.
Like we kind of laugh at people that installed batteries in 2020 or 2021 and they thought they were going to have 10 plus years, 15 years, and then all of a sudden power prices doubled.
Yeah.
And as power prices double, then the battery ROI halves. So there's a whole bunch of stuff like that, and it depends on what time you're using the power, and if you decide to connect to VPPs, and then if you have an electric car into the mix, and whether you're amalgamating the ROI with the battery and the solar, because a lot of people will look at the ROI on the solar, and for example, some people will say things like this. So the ROI on the solar is 4 years and the battery is 16 years, but when you put them together, it's 8 years. So it's one of those things. So they're not going to pay for themselves as quickly as solar do. We know that. We're not going to lie to anyone about that. But if you are looking for the full experience and you want the backup protection, it will pay for itself. It will take a bit longer. Maybe you're more driven by something else, like the environment, say. A lot of people are more driven by the environment, and they say, we've got a climate crisis coming up. We need to do something about this now. And then there's people going, oh, what about the ROI? Like, is that really what's important here? I thought this was about the climate, but I mean, look, it's obviously about ROI as well. But yeah, I think we're getting there. We're definitely making progress with the ROI. Before, a couple of years ago, it was bad, but now it's starting to get to that tipping point where it's worth it for a lot of people who are purely just financially focused.
Are the Enphase systems coming down in price, or are they pretty much staying as they've been?
Look, they've been pretty consistent. It's hard to say what Enphase will do in the future, but I see it probably a continuation of what they have done over the last few years, which is just a continuation as well. So
Does it depend on the US election?
maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe a bit hinges on that.
yeah. We'll skip that question. All right.
So they've done other things, like they've stood firm on the price, but they have increased the warranty, for example. And that warranty, that 25-year warranty, did come at quite a high price. But, so that's overall, as a system cost has come down relatively, but with a far longer warranty now on the unit.
I've been surprised the cost of a lot of systems and batteries hasn't been going up in the last 2 years. I'm surprised the prices of batteries hasn't been going up in the last 2 years, because you look at everything in the world and it's all going up. Everything's getting more expensive and batteries are staying the same. So I'm not a financial analyst, but in real terms, they're getting cheaper. Maybe that's what that's...
Seem to be coming down the front centre.
Yeah.
Yeah, capable of just doing...
Yeah.
Just given that car batteries are about 5 to 8 times the capacity of home batteries, is Enphase doing anything in the vehicle to grid, vehicle to home space?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking, should I get a battery or should I wait a couple of years till the regulations are up? You know, the trial in South Australia is, finished.
I was talking to some people, some EV charging people, 2 days ago, and they said 2026 is what they reckon.
Yeah.
So it's coming, but even when it does come, it's going to. They were looking at bringing in the Wallbox KSAR charger as a vehicle to grid a while ago, and then I think it was going to bring it in South Australia. Something happened; they didn't really bring it in. But the charger itself was $12,000 without installation. So you were looking at $15,000, and it was only compatible with certain electric cars. I think Japanese cars. So it wasn't compatible with Tesla either. So as much as it's a great conversation to have, I would say it's not happening anytime soon. I wouldn't hold your breath. Look, with electric cars, it is going to happen eventually. With electric cars, I think they're great as just somewhere to dump your power and then drive it off and use it somewhere else, as in on the road. So just leave your car plugged in during the day. Particularly these days, a lot of people working from home and they've got a big system on the roof and they don't have a battery. If they've got a car, they just, all of that excess power just into the car and then they just drive it off on the road. So that is a way that you can get good value out of your system. And again, when you start doing stuff like that, it's really hard to quantify.
Yeah.
Or, at least...
It's a bit further out.
But I mean, I do it, I sometimes feel like I'm bragging at these things, but me and my wife, we both have electric cars, so I don't pay for fuel or anything. I don't pay for any electricity at home. I totally don't pay for any of that. So it's definitely possible to do it.
Yeah, and a lot of cars now have vehicle to load, so you can plug in your fridge.
That's right.
Yeah, go camping. So, but even just using it on the road, I think that's the big thing. It's just taking the power of the sun at your house, and then just pumping it into your car, and then driving your car off at the night.
You drive
That's-
around at night, that's all you do.
Well, yeah. Oh no, I don't actually drive enough, to be honest.
So, I mean, another way to answer that question is Enphase is doing this. You can find it on YouTube, actually. You'll see a test of Enphase, I think it was with Volkswagen in the US, at their Fremont factory. They do vehicle to grid, and there's a development program. Again, when those sorts of things come to market, I think we're still a few years away, personally. There's a whole lot of regulations and things to be created too around that, and there's been... Yeah. But it's happening, right? We're just at the beginning, but it's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to be too far away. It's exciting. There's a lot of really good ideas coming and still continuing to happen in the renewable energy industry, and it's great to see that there are solutions coming.
I think if you're working from home all the time and your excess solar's going into your car at night time, it makes sense to...
If you're working at home all the time, you could sell the car, right? Yeah.
Just that first point you got there, so are you saying
Oh, sorry.
a kilowatt hour battery could be equivalent to a 10 kilowatt SunGrow or Powerwall?
And power output potentially, but in terms of storage capacity, well, you've got to really compare the capacity of the batteries themselves. So two Enphase batteries you'd probably compare to a Tesla, which is about 13 kilowatt hours, I think. So probably 2 Enphase batteries would be an equivalent capacity.
It's 1 for 1 on the kilowatt scale, so you know, 5, 10, so 5, 10, 15. These are 2 point something for the Sungrows. We don't actually work too much with Sungrow, to be honest. We just have it here if anyone wants to have a look. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, the car charger that's going to come out. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we've got it's the Enphase. It's called EV Charger 2 or something. It's being launched in Europe in November, so in a few weeks' time. We're bringing it into the solar show, which is happening in Melbourne in a couple of weeks' time, and at Jeff Shed. There's the All Energy Conference.
Is it DC?
It's an AC charger, yep. But it's a up to 22 kilowatts, so one up to 3 phase. They're launching into Europe, and we're going to be bringing it into Australia after that. So Europe's our big market for car chargers, obviously. Big population over there with EVs, and then again, but the app itself, the Enphase app, already has integration for the car charger in it. So when we bring it into market, it'll be able to be read and controlled through the app as well, which is really nice. I think I'm looking forward to having that as an option.
When it's available, we'll get one here.
Yes.
You guys can come have a look. We'll let everyone know about it. Any more questions? Okay, cool. All right, that's pretty good. All right, well, thanks, Duncan, for coming down and doing that. That's great. Prepared a really great slide. Saves me some work. Yeah, thanks to all you guys for coming out. I hope you learnt a lot. Now, with these workshops, we do them all for free. Obviously, this is outside of hours. You know, we could all be in other places right now, but we're not. We're here because we want to teach you guys about solar and we want to provide value to you guys. So the only thing that we do ask, if you could go on Google and leave a review and just say that you went to our workshop and it was really informative, that would be really helpful to us if we could get some extra Google reviews to help us generate a little business. And yeah, if you are interested in getting a design, having a consultation, getting any of this on your house, we're more than happy to talk to you about that. We'll hang around here for a little bit. My team are all the people at the back with pretty much all the grey shirts. And if we don't have time or it doesn't work for you, you can go on our website and you can book a meeting either over the phone or in the showroom to have a chat with one of the team. And yeah, we'd love to help you guys get some Enphase systems on your roof. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks very much.